Like if you like chocolate, okay? If Mary likes chocolate, chocolate doesn't actually taste bad. It tastes good. And when you eat it, you get the reward in your brain of a waterfall, let's say, of dopamine and other feel-good neurotransmitters, which sends the message that this was a really good choice and we should do it again as soon as possible. So now we have one chocolate-covered almond, and now two, and now three, and now one in the hand becomes two in the hand, and two in the hand becomes four in the hand. Because that's what's happening here. You don't even know what's happening. That dopamine reward happens when we participate in that, what I call the survival ensuring activity. When we eat anything, we get a little mist of dopamine and some other really feel-good neurotransmitters that say, good job. You're ensuring that this organism's survival. Way to go. This reward tells us that eating was a good idea and that we should do it again. Once we've experienced it, dopamine is also released in anticipation of one of these survival ensuring activities. So now we not only get a reward when we do it, but we're being gently motivated to take action to do it again and again and again, all subconsciously. So let's consider sugar equals a waterfall of dopamine. And I'm just using sugar as an example clearly here. When we eat sugar, the reward response is compounded. So rather than a mist of dopamine, we feel a waterfall of dopamine, and our brain is like, wow, that was a super important food, and we should do whatever it takes to eat as much of it as we can, get our hands on. That's what your brain is saying. That's what's happening. Now, no wonder we're eating all day, every day, sugar and seeking it out so often, and we can't say no to those cookies. It's a pretty mixed message when we're telling ourselves that chocolate is bad. It doesn't taste bad. It doesn't feel bad in our brain. Everyone who eats it doesn't gain weight. So it makes it pretty hard to believe that it's bad. And I'm not saying chocolate's bad, by the way. This is all an example. But yet, they say it's bad for us, that we shouldn't eat it, that if we're trying to lose weight, stay away. But we really want to, and we really like to, so we eat it anyway because our brain's confused. And then we beat ourselves up for being a terrible person who eats bad foods and can't stick to a commitment. This was part of the problem that my client had, right? Sugar was bad, but they loved it and ate it all the time. So I must be a bad person for eating it. That's what the brain says. Now, why is this a problem? Because the truth is that no food is inherently good or bad. Bear with me here. Don't have a heart attack, Perla. Bear with me. Food and cheese is like not all bad. Okay, she really effed me up with the cheese the last program. Remember that? Okay. I finally bought cheese last week. I want you to know. And I was like shaking. Now listen. Food is just food. Just ingredients, nutrients, molecules that we ingest. That's it. It has no moral value. Different foods have different nutritional values and different effects on our individual bodies, for sure. And we have taste preferences and cultural food traditions and regional specialties and family favorites, sure. But the food itself is neutral. What's good to you may be bad to me, and vice versa. And the most important thing to look at is not what we think about the food, but what that thought is creating for us. If we try to think about foods as good and bad in order to try to manage our desire for them, we end up fighting against ourselves, saying both. I can't eat the chocolate because it's bad and I'm trying to lose weight, but it tastes so good and I want it. This usually leads us to like white knuckling it, willpower, and not eating any chocolate for a few days or weeks, looking good, feeling good, but still not understanding that if we had a little bit of chocolate, we're not bad people, and then going off the rails and eating massive amounts of chocolates for 3 days straight. And you're like, see, I do suck. I'm bad. I'm a failure. I can't do this. Why bother? Why do it again? I've tried everything. Okay. Well, what about everything in between? in addition to these like black and white food rules, we also have some black and white thoughts about success and failure. We look at our eating as either perfection or disaster, which means that often we don't even want to start a plan because we're afraid of not being perfect at it. And if anything less than 100% is 0%, we're in big trouble. If anything less than 100% is 0%, but you eat 90% of what is on your plan, your all or nothing thinking disregards all of the choices you made that did align with your goals. You focus on the few choices that didn't align with your goals, the 10%. That's danger zone. If you wanted to eat 6 brownies, but you ate 1, your all or nothing thinking will still chalk it up to failure. And when you throw in the towel as a failure, well, you usually ate the other 5 brownies. That's usually what we end up doing. Our brain said, well, you're a failure anyway. Now, you're not sitting there watching TV thinking that, but that's what your brain said to you. You know what it says? Well, you already screwed up, so just finish the job. And so what's that saying is you failed anyway, so just be at least successful at failing and eat all the brownies. That's what it's saying. It's trying to find success somewhere. So go in the trash can, take it out, dust off the thing, and just eat it, okay? All that stopping and starting a few steps forward, a few steps back, it ends up keeping us stuck in the same spot. And in other ways that it shows up is sometimes you'll hear the all or nothing showing up in other ways as well. Like, I'm not buying one new thing for myself until I lose all this weight. Or I'll never be able to lose weight, so I just have to deal with being this type of person. This is just my body type. Or it's impossible to eat what's on my plan on the weekends. So I'm going to be great Monday through Thursday, maybe up until Friday at 4, but then it's the weekend. Well, I mean, time still moves the same, whether it's a Saturday or Tuesday. Okay. Or you know what? I always sabotage myself. So you're either on or off. You're doing it all the way or not at all. You're successful or you're failing. This is all or nothing. But what about everything in between? This is what the all or nothing thought error ignores. All the gray area in between the black and white. It fails to consider any other way of looking at things. Now, there's only one way to be, one way to eat, one way to succeed. That's what it's telling us. And everything else is wrong. Most importantly, everything else is personal. The black of the black and white, the nothing of the all or nothing is directly connected to your own worth and value. It's not just that you ate the bad food. It's that you're now a bad person for doing it in your brain. It's not that you failed to eat perfectly on the plan. It's that you are a failure because that's how you're associating eating 1 brownie versus 6. And when you feel bad and you feel like a failure, you don't find comfort in carrot sticks, but in carrot cake. That's where you're finding your comfort. You're rewarding that dopamine waterfall. Carrots aren't going to do that to you. Carrot cake will. So there's zero upside to an all or nothing mindset. 0. Seeing your weight loss in terms of all or nothing or black and white is not a win-lose mindset. It's a lose-lose mindset. There's no confidence built. There's no progress recognized. There's no learning. There's no real celebration. We've talked about, if you guys were on the program last time, if not, hopefully we'll get a chance to do it again, that pain and pleasure response. You look at it as deprivation, which is painful. So your brain's trying to find pleasure in it. All these things go on. You're just trying to put the Doritos down. All this stuff's going on. So even when you're winning or succeeding, you're always on the lookout for the other shoe to drop, which really means on the lookout for you to eat something off your plan, and therefore fail. So even when you're winning, You're not feeling the joy and the peace of winning. You're feeling the fear of your own judgment of yourself that will come if and when you fall down. Does this make sense to everybody? Show of hands. Okay. Yeah. The ones with their cameras on. Okay. Your weight loss efforts are not lost with a brownie or even 5. I know Pearl is going to kill me. I'll take the beating. Eating brownies one day does not sabotage your weight loss goals and bring you back to square one. But if you believe you failed because you ate the brownie and subsequently throw in the towel and eat all of those things for 3, 5, 7 days, that's going to have effect on your weight loss. Remember, we can grab an apple a day or a Snickers bar a day. But if we grab an apple 5 days, 6 days, and a Snickers one day, we're still winning. We're still winning. It doesn't have to be apple all the time. Eat an apple and half a Snickers bar once a week. You see what I'm saying? So how do we start to think, I guess it would be called in the middle, in that gray. How do we start to think in the middle? So we've got to start to see the beautiful shades that live there in between your black and in between your white. First, I think it's important to know how to identify when you're stuck in the all or nothing mindset. So the most obvious sign is the presence of the words always and never. You also need to look out for words like these: impossible, perfect, disaster, out of control, completely, totally, ever, never, mess, everyone, no one. Stay away from words like wagons or whale, fell off the wagon, got derailed. Stay away from words like that. No wagon, no rails. Now there's 3 steps that we can really start here. Step 1, just have fun with this and explore other options. What would somebody else think or say about this? Is there another way to look at this? Can you focus on the 90%, not make 100% or 0%? Am I really seeing this from all angles? What good choices did I make? What are the pros and cons of both sides? Step 2, do a reality check. Is there evidence that supports this opinion? Is it true that people have lost massive amounts of weight and didn't feel deprived? Yes. I used to work on The Biggest Loser. They had dessert 3 days a week. Not 7, but 3. Now, did some of the cases go from them eating 6 cannolis to 1? Yes, of course. But they still, I remember the one person, they just always wanted a cannoli. She won The Biggest Loser that year. So is there evidence that supports this opinion? Find it. What are the facts? Could this assumption be challenged by anyone? Sure. Sure, Perla can unmute herself and yell at me. Absolutely, she can. She may. I don't know. Are there situations where my belief isn't actually happening? Step 3, switch to gray colored words. Commit to gray over these next 30 days. When you find yourself using some of the extreme language of the all or nothing thinking, stop and ask if you can find some moderate gray colored words instead of the black and white ones to describe the situation. Try replacing or with and. In the sentence, notice how it changes the feeling of the sentence, as well as the accuracy of it. How can I succeed and fail? How can I be on my plan and still have 4 chocolate covered almonds at night? Or, I'm using that as an example because one of my trainers said I could have chocolate covered almonds if it's, whatever. So it sort of sat in me. Or like frozen grapes, that they never really did it for me, but the almonds did, right? Okay. So like I would eat my dinner, have my veggies, do it right. And at the end of the night, I had 8 chocolate covered almonds that I really looked forward to. Who knows who Jillian Michaels is on The Biggest Loser? Does anybody know who the trainer Jillian Michaels is? There has not a day or night gone by up until last night, our conversation last night, that Jillian Michaels before bed does not eat 2, like it comes in a pack, Reese's peanut butter cups. Every night. I've never known a night where she's not walking to bed with a ice water with lemon in it and Reese's peanut butter cups. It's the truth. She talked about it publicly, or I would have never revealed that. But it is the truth. It's the truth. Okay. So how can I do this and this versus how can I do this or this? That's the way to change that. Okay. So a simple exercise. Let's do a simple exercise. Really to change how you view yourself. It's also important to change the lens of which we're really viewing ourselves. So part of the pain of the all or nothing thinking is our attributing our worth to what we do or don't do, and our focus on the negative about ourselves. A simple exercise I love is to take a minute at the end of the day, and I know it sounds like simplistic and a bunch of hyperbole, but just try it. Just list 3 things that you did or accomplished that day that you're stoked about. And then think about the positive beliefs they reveal about you. This connects your actions to your values. That's why it's important, and starts to show you how all of your actions are evidence of who you choose to be. See, it starts to plant seeds in the brain, and the brain will switch its default without you even knowing it. So we want to trick our brain by doing that, okay? And if you go back to the example that I gave you at the beginning of my client who was eating, the all or nothing sugar, let me tell you how they applied this, and they started to see a difference. I started working them 7 weeks ago. They're down 42 pounds. I didn't give them a diet. I didn't give them a workout plan. I changed their all or nothing thinking. And so when Crystal said to me, I'd like you to talk about this, I was like, no problem. I've just been doing this with a client. They use a lot of the all or nothing language around the issue nonstop, entire day, nothing but all the time, bad, always, never. It was pretty clear that they were stuck in the all or nothing thinking about this issue, and it was not serving them. One of the things that really turned it all around head on was the question, are there situations where what I believe isn't happening? And they found, and as silly as it sounds, it worked for her. They found that, like, the way that they justified it is that it was true that they stopped eating sugar when they were asleep. And they became so proud that they weren't getting up in the middle of the night to eat sugar, nor were they hooked up to an IV of sugar. So when she would say, I eat sugar all the time, she was able to say, that's not true. I don't eat sugar all the time. There were 7 or 8 to 9 hours every day that they didn't even want sugar, which meant that 7 or 8 to 9 hours a day was a person who was capable of not eating sugar. And all we did was add an hour to that every day. But they had to find evidence of the statement of, I do it all day. You don't do it all day. We had to rechange the belief system, even though it meant when they were asleep. But there are people that wake up in the middle of the night to eat, and she was proud that she wasn't one of them. And so we hooked onto that. Okay. And then 6 hours became 7, which became 8, which became 9. And now we go 12 hours, and now we're up to 15 hours. That's a lot. So look for other perspectives. How else could you look at the situation? How can you make it not true? How can you turn the or to an end? How can you turn this black and white belief on its head and start to see all the shades of gray, like a wheel, like you took paint on a spin wheel and you added the white and the black? How can you see all the grays splattering? And once you choose to see what you're capable of, you will be well on your way. Well on your way. So I hope that was helpful. Crystal, I hope that was on point, and I hope it got you all thinking about living in gray is not so bad. Now listen, I'm going to introduce someone that's very special to me. Perla, my dear, dear friend. She's an innovator. She's in this holistic fitness bazillion dollar industry, right? She's in this world, and she has led the way for 3 decades, if I remember correctly. She's helped thousands, I would probably say tens of thousands of people at this point, gain, regain, redefine, realign their health with her simple one method that lasts a lifetime. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope she doesn't take cheese away from us again, but passing it on to Perla. Thank you for your time.